are you? Very early morning for you.
Yeah, it's 7 a.m., but we're here and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I couldn't do it at 7 a.m. So Laura is in Perth. So if you're not in Australia yet, it's 10 a.m. in New South Wales, Sydney, and it's 7 a.m. in Perth. So there's quite a few different time zones. So thank you so much for rolling out of bed and chatting to us this morning.
That's okay. I'm actually excited for it.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. So I'll ask you to introduce yourself first. First of all, anyone who's watching or anyone who tunes in, you can ask any questions and we will do our best to answer them for you. Laura will do her best to answer them for you. And any questions later, then just comment or, reach out and ask and we'll be happy to answer as much as we can. Laura is a recruiter, so she has her own business. She's from the UK as well, like me. So she has migrated here, so she kind of knows some of the struggles that you're facing. And so this is going to be about the expectations for job search and interview from the recruiter and the hiring manager's perspective. So the mistakes that you're making, what they wish you would do, what you have to do, and all that type of thing. So over to you, Laura. Would you start by, I guess, introducing yourself and introducing your recruitment company as well?
Yes, so thank you. I'm Laura. I run ElevateOne Recruitment. I work with, obviously, individuals and also companies, making sure that we can match you with the perfect role. Mm-hmm. As Natalie said, I am originally from the UK, but have been in Australia for 8 years now, and definitely understand the struggle that there is when it comes to first arriving, applying for roles, and making sure that we can stay here, essentially.
Yeah, for sure. And the local experience is always a question that I get, and a frustration of, employees in Australia really want Australian experience. And I try and say I had to do it myself. And did you have to go through that situation as well when you first applied for jobs here?
Yes and no. I was really lucky in the fact that I found a job with 2 English guys who ran a recruitment company. So they'd actually gone through it themselves as well. So they knew the struggles. So I guess I was lucky in that way that they kind of wanted to help and they knew that they could. But I experienced it sort of in the first few months of being here when I was trying to just get any job, because originally I was on a working holiday visa. And it was just always, we need local experience, but you can't get local experience without someone giving you a chance. And you just go round in this circle, to be honest, and there's just no kind of end. You just really have to, hope that someone gives you that first step in the door.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't give up, because not everyone will ask for that, which is what you found as well.
Yeah.
Quick about me, if no one knows, I also came on a working holiday visa, the same as Laura, almost 12 years ago. And I really struggled to get a job. I think I was unemployed for about 6 to 8 weeks. And I couldn't get a job in a bar because I didn't have recent hospitality or bar experience. It had all been marketing and education, but I couldn't get marketing or education because I didn't have Australian experience. So it was a really difficult kind of situation to get out of. I was overqualified and underqualified. But the same as Laura, I didn't give up, and I ended up getting a job in an English college, which wasn't the greatest, but I did it. And then from then, I managed to continue getting better and better jobs. And is that what you did as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was funny because I'd had recruitment experience for a couple of years in England and had gone into advertising advertising was my most recent experience when I came to Australia. But the problem was, because I'd been working with companies in, major cities in the UK, including London, the experience I had was so far in advance to what the marketing is here in Perth, especially, that I was talking about marketing and advertising, and it was just straight over their head. And they would say, you're going to get bored. And that was a really big mindset struggle for me, actually, to know that, okay, I'm going to have to leave. If I'm going to stay in Australia, I need to leave that industry and that career. And I mean, I'm lucky that I fell back into recruitment and I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely a mindset change.
Yeah, I noticed that myself about the, I want to say backwards, but the less of experience that Australia has in comparison to other countries. I don't know if it's caught up now. You might be able to tell me if you know if the yeah no, okay, but yeah, you might notice that when you come to Australia, that in comparison to some of the work that you were doing and how progressed that some marketing and creative industries are, Australia hasn't quite got there yet. And I noticed that as well, and a lot of people I spoke to had noticed that. So interested you say that, because I forgot about that. Actually, I've been here so long, I just forgot.
Yeah, it's funny how quickly you do forget once you've kind of settled into
Yeah,
a job and a career, and
yeah,
often it is a bit of a sidestep, but no, I'm glad that it worked out. And I think that, like you said before, it's just about sticking with it, and knowing that as long as you get a foot in the door, like, you're going to be absolutely fine and it will work out. It's just getting that foot in the door.
absolutely. And volunteer experience. I'm always a big advocate for volunteering. Okay, so let's talk about less about us. I think we're both tired this morning. We're just having a chit chat. All right, so sorry guys. So as you know, so I've been lucky enough to collaborate with Laura on some workshops for my clients, and early stages of coming to Australia, or reasonably early stages of getting the professional job in Australia. So there's a lot of frustrations with getting local experience, with understanding the job market, with communication skills and interviews. What do you think is the number one or number two things that employers, hiring managers really, really want from an applicant?
I think complete honesty and transparency
Yeah.
is a really big one. It's so easy to kind of, I guess, over exaggerate a bit of experience because you think it might help you get that foot in the door.
Yeah.
I'm going to give 3.
Yeah.
Be yourself.
Yeah.
100%. It's such a huge thing. 1, because they then know that you're going to fit into their culture, but 2,
Yeah.
you're going to be comfortable fitting in with them as well.
Yeah.
And also your achievements, like, shine them bright. I am massive fan of talking about your achievements, not just what you did on a day-to-day role, but what you actually accomplished.
Yeah.
They love to see that stuff.
Perfect. That's good, because that's what I help my clients with. I'm doing a resume consult after this, and I always drive them insane by saying, but tell me more. What did you quantify it? What was the value? And they're just like, I don't know, but you do know afterwards, I promise you. And that's what employers really, really want to see. So aside from the resume, which you should have your achievements listed, etc., how else can they show who they really are within the process?
I think it depends on where they're at in the process. Like, I'm very big on picking up the phone and having a conversation with someone. I think that really makes you stand out. And I'm definitely, I'm always open to have a chat with someone who's interested in a role, just to get that clarity, understand them better as a person. You can't always get that on a piece of paper or, on an application. So picking up the phone and having a conversation. And if you're at interview stage, just being confident. Confidence is huge. It's so hard when you first arrive here because, there are so many things kind of working against you from that experience side of things. You're going up against locals, etc.
Yeah.
But if you're confident in what you have achieved in the past, I think that it shines through. It really does.
Absolutely. And spending time, if you would agree, spending time actually, identifying your achievements as well, because I feel like I don't know if it's cultural, but not everyone thinks about doing that, in my experience. So, listing duties is easy to do and people can teach you that, but the actual spending the time to understand the achievements is super, super important. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Having that clarity of what you actually bring to the table is so, so important, so key. And, people from all walks of life have that struggle. Like, it's really not something that's easy to do. You do need someone to kind of point you in the right direction, and do ask the questions and push for more, like you were saying you do. Like, that's really important. I've got friends, you know, born and bred here, and when it comes to their resume or an interview, they really struggle to go, I don't know what I bring to the table. I don't know how to like verbalize it. I don't know how to get that across.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what do you think some of the biggest mistakes people make in their job search and interview process are?
Well, as I said before, lying on a CV to fill a gap. Gaps are fine. Just be clear about them. You know, so many women have been stay-at-home mums, men have been stay-at-home dads. It's absolutely fine. Like, it really is fine. I traveled, so there's a gap. You know, you might have just had some time off. You had time off. It's fine. That'd be one. Not preparing for an interview. It's really easy when you're going to so many interviews, it's really hard. It gets really overwhelming to be like, oh my God, I have to get prepared for another one. But just researching the company, knowing that, you know, what their values are, what their culture's like, what their day-to-day operations are, super important. And my third would be being too nervous. Just because, and the nervous thing normally comes from not being prepared.
Yes. Yeah.
They kind of come hand in hand. But if you're too nervous, where you're actually almost overwhelmed, it can just I guess it overshadows who you are as a person, and you're not able to actually shine through as your personality and get across who you actually are. And I think that's one of the biggest things in an interview.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, I mean, it's probably easier said than done. But practice as well, you know, especially if English isn't your first language, but practice. And what is your opinion on scripting and trying to memorize your interview answers, Laura?
I think it's a tough one. I think yes, to an extent. If it makes you feel more confident going in, but I think making sure that it doesn't sound scripted. So making it so that it's personal for you. Don't be Googling what they want to hear. Making sure that it's in your own language and your own words and how you would normally speak. And making it sound that it is you. I think that's absolutely fine. But I think that you do run the risk of sounding a little bit rehearsed.
Can I disagree with you? Yeah. So I always say to my clients, don't memorize your interview answers. And it's one of my biggest beliefs about this, particularly from people who don't have English as their first language. It's almost impossible, in my opinion, to script every single word and every single sentence for every question that's possibly going to be asked. So you, as Laura says, you run the risk of sounding rehearsed and inauthentic. And we already talked about being yourself being important, but also what happens if you get asked a question you haven't prepared for? And if you're not confident about the job, about your skills, and about your English language, you are going to just, you know, blank and get nervous. So my opinion, my very passionate opinion that I always preach to everyone, nag everyone about, is don't script your answers. Instead, you can write dot points. Bullet points are okay, but also just understand stories about the skills that you have. So make sure that you go in with examples of the skills that they want, and just be more confident about what you've done in the past, and be over prepared with examples so that any question that they ask you, you have an answer ready.
Yeah, so I would say I agree with that. I think like scripting it word for word and rehearsing it word for word, absolutely not. You're never going to sound like you. Yeah. I think if there's something that you struggle with wording, or for me, when someone asks me as an example who you are and what you do, mine sounds so random because I don't know how to say it word for word unless I have actually sat down and gone, okay, this is what I say.
Yeah.
So I kind of do have something scripted, so to
Like
speak.
an elevator pitch kind of thing.
Yes. And I think that that's fine, but I do agree with you that it still needs to sound really authentic. So having bullet points is probably dot points is the way to go.
Yeah.
If it's something that's going to give you a little bit more confidence on a certain question, but like you said, there's literally millions of questions. I don't know two clients that would ask the same questions. So
Yeah.
it's damn near impossible.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So I'm glad we kind of agree. But yeah, just be yourself, I think, is the important thing that you're saying here as well. So hey Antonia. Okay, let's say I have more than 10 years of experience in communication in a Spanish-speaking country, but at the moment I am working at a petrol station as a team member because it's the only job I could find in Australia. Should I put that in my resume? It seems a bit odd, but at the same time, I don't put it will make a big gap in my resume. Common thing. But I'll let so this is a question that I actually get a lot, Antonia, and it's not just a question, it's kind of what people do, like they leave it out of their resume. So this is interesting to ask Laura. I'll see what she says. So what's your opinion, Laura?
It's a really tough one because I personally, I would say, how long have you been working in that job for? Not long.
It's very recent now. So I'm answering for you, sorry, because I know it's no time. Yeah, it's very recent, but I guess it will depend on when she gets the position and having something on her resume now. Although she is also doing volunteer work.
Okay, leave it off.
Okay, well, there you go. Leave it off. And what if she doesn't get a job in communications for 6 months? Or someone who sorry to interrupt, or someone who has worked in a job like this for 2 years or a year. I guess the general question as well for anyone who's listening.
I would include that for sure. I think like if it's been a couple of months, you're in Australia, you're traveling, that's absolutely fine. If it's going to be sort of 6 months plus, then yeah, I would definitely include it because it shows that you've still been employed.
Yeah.
It's showing that you're still making an effort to be part of Australian culture. You're still wanting to be here long term. And I think that that's really important to demonstrate that that's what you're here to do.
Perfect. That's great. And that's what I suggest as well. So it always gives me validation when experts tell us that. So that's great. And how would you suggest adding it onto your resume for anyone who who has to put it on because they've been there longer?
How would you word it?
Yeah, you're frozen. Your camera's frozen, but that's okay. We'll keep chatting. Yeah, like how would you word it and show the skills?
I think just how you would any other role. So almost make it like make it so that your skills are transferable still, or they're like relatable back to the communications kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So if you can show that they're transferable skills, that's what I would tend to do.
Yeah.
It just makes it that more, I guess, more visual. It comes across better to a potential employer than you just completely leaving it off. What would you agree? Or
yeah, that's exactly what I do with people. I'll tell people to do. So yeah, that's it. And sometimes, I mean, I think for me it would depend on the job and how long they've been there. How many? I mean, another common challenge that people have is that they've done like 10 different casual jobs in 2 years because that's how it works. So in that instance, what I say, and you can tell us your opinion for this as well. In that instance, say they've done different hospitality jobs, just because obviously they don't get enough hours with one job. Instead of listing all of the individual companies and taking up so much space, I would write at the top, casual customer service jobs with the 2 years, and then underneath reference some of the more important roles and the transferable skills. Is that what you would do, or would you say to list every single job?
No, definitely not. I agree with you. Kind of summarize the important
Yeah.
Like maybe achievements, if you've achieved things in
Yeah.
those roles,
Yeah.
list those, and any transferable skills again. But yeah, 100%, I would be, if it was for the last 3 years, it'd be from 2020 to
Yeah.
2023. General hospitality work or general casual hospitality work, and then just a summary.
Perfect. That's what I do. But I think, I hope that yeah. So Laura says leave it off, Antonia. I think if it goes longer than 6 months, which I hope it doesn't, because January will hopefully be a good year for you, like a good month for you. You could pop it on, but right now, just leave it off and have your volunteer job, is what Laura is saying. But I think from what you're saying as well is like what I say is every resume is different. No resume is the same. I mean, it's about showing your story and, your situation and what you can do. Is that something you would agree with as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I don't know what my camera's doing.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. We can still see you.
Yes, definitely. Because, for example, I did very much a lot of casual work when I first got here, for the 3 months before I landed a full-time job, and that's it's not on my LinkedIn, it's not on my resume. I just have a gap. It is what it is. But I think everyone's is just so different. Like sometimes that 3 months worth of work might actually be instrumental in the next role. So just depends on whether it's going to have an impact or not.
Yeah, 100%. Great. And so, any more questions or any follow-ups, Antonia, just let us know. But we'll keep chatting for now. So my other question to you, so the mistakes that people make, I guess is in line with what they want you to do. But let's talk about, so I personally think that the job market is picking up a little bit. I feel like you agree, because I feel like I was going a bit crazy earlier this year because it was just so hard for me to help clients, and they were doing everything right and I was helping them, but they were still getting no responses to any of their applications. But I'm noticing that it's getting easier again. They're getting responses, they're getting jobs, they're getting interviews. So is that your opinion and your insight as well? And what would you say about the current job market right now?
Yeah, I definitely think it's picking up. January for me, I already have probably 4 or 5 clients who are saying, yes, we are hiring, and they're not just hiring one team member, they're hiring, between 3 and 5. They're stepping up massively. I think, I don't know what's even changed at all, to be honest. But the market's also changed in the fact that, visas are now being opened up for people who are overseas, who are wanting to come to Australia. Those who have certain experience, which I think is great. Like skilled employees are always going to be amazing, skilled workers, no matter where you're from. It's how my partner's here. He's from the US, and so that's what he started on. And it's just not been like that for a few years now. So that's definitely changing, which has helped. It's definitely busier. I think it's busier across all states as well. Like I know I've got people in Queensland who are also really busy. I know you're in New South Wales. You're seeing it pick up, and it's definitely picking up here in Perth too. So I'm excited for next year. I think it'll also see people actually get jobs that they want, which is super important.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess I've got one more question. I'll ask that question in 1 second. But just to follow on, because I might forget with my brain at the moment, just to follow on, it has been a tough year for a lot of people that I know who've been looking for jobs. They're tough 7 to 8 months. If there's people out there who just keep applying and not hearing anything back, or just getting, automated rejection emails, what would you say to them in terms of resilience, keeping going, or even anything else they can do to actually get more interviews? Like, what would you say to people who are really struggling with job search right now?
I think stay positive for sure. Definitely stay positive. It will happen. Like that's something that I can say very confidently. Next year is definitely looking up. I think knowing, I always say that if you're having a day where you're just not sure what you're doing and if it's going to work, get a piece of paper, write down all the things that you bring to the table when it comes to a new job, because it really reminds you what you are going to bring to a new company. And it's just a little bit of a fulfilling exercise to remind yourself how great you are.
I love that.
I do it because sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? So it's a nice reminder. What else? Staying positive. I also think networking. So getting out, going to different events. A lot of the time they are, people who are like fully employed, they're working for companies. And sometimes, you're forefront of mind then. So when a role does come up and they go, oh, actually, I just met someone the other day and they could be a really good fit. And so if you're going out, I mean, I over network. I'm out there far too often. But like, if you just put 2 days aside per month to just go out and meet new people, that will really help as well. And plus, that will help your mindset just fitting into the Australian culture, and that will also help. Plus, your communication will improve too.
100%. And that's that's been everyone that I've spoken to with this Ask the Expert series who've been international students or working in networking or things like that, or migration agents. Everyone has said that networking and building connections in Australia is number one. And I know you're really good at it. You're great at it, which I know you have to be for your job. I'm not very good and I need to be better. But you're another person who's mentioned that. So anyone listening, as scary as it is, and I'm with you, it's not natural to everyone. We just need to do it and start slowly. Is that what Laura, did you just kind of one day be like, right, I'm going to go to 5 networking events a week? Or did you start slowly and go step by step?
I started slowly for sure. I think, they can, I think, start with like smaller ones. That's what I would say. If anyone's in Perth, like I can recommend so many. And there's ones that are less, salesy, which are nice because they're aimed more at just individuals who are wanting to be part of a nice community. If work comes from it, work comes from it. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. Like that's not the main focus. And so if you can find more community-led ones, they're the ones that I would suggest going to first. And they tend to be a bit more intimate, which is easier then obviously to talk to. And at first, if you feel comfortable only speaking to one person, then only speak to one person. You don't have to work the room, so to speak, as soon as you get there. Just have open, honest conversations with people and tell them about your experience and how you're finding Australia life, and the conversation will flow.
Yeah, perfect. Great. We have another question. So LinkedIn user, it doesn't say your name, so sorry for not saying your name, but they say, thanks for your suggestions. I have listed that in the Australian CV. I have listened that in the Australian CV, we cannot share a photo. But can we put our social media channels or like a QR code to give the chance to employers to find us in digital spaces? Greetings from Peru. So yeah, what would you? I'll let you answer this question. Obviously, what do you think here?
So I definitely don't do photos on CVs, and I tell everyone not to do it. Social media channels. Honestly, I say no. I think if you've got LinkedIn, yeah, absolutely, throw that on there. But when it comes to, your more, I guess, personal ones like Facebook, Instagram, then you don't need to include them. They're nothing to do with your professional career. But LinkedIn's a good one.
Would you say the same? What industry are you in, LinkedIn user? Would you say the same for like creative industries if they've got portfolios or things like that online?
I think if they are creative and they have a, I guess almost like a business page or a page that's dedicated, then absolutely include that. But if you're similar to like Antonia, who's working in communications, then no, don't
Yeah.
include your Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I've worked with some graphic designers and photographers, and definitely include, you know, your website, or if you've got a business page, as Laura says, but only for creatives, not for anything else in Australia. All right.
Interesting question.
Yeah. It's interesting the way it works in different countries. Like, I know, for example, in Brazil, and other countries within Latin America, is they don't need cover letters.
Right, okay.
So, let me ask you this as well. Are cover letters still valid?
I got asked this the other day.
Such a not controversial, but it's such a thing right now.
It is.
Yeah.
I ask a client if they want to see one.
Mm-hmm.
I find a lot of people are now saying don't worry about it because they can be quite generalized. If it's actually specific to the role, then yes. I'm working with someone right now, and her cover letters are outstanding. They are some of the best I've ever seen. And hers, I'm like, absolutely send that. They are incredible. But if it's just a generic one, don't bother. The other thing I would say is when you're applying, a lot of what I am seeing a lot of now is companies that are advertising on places like Seek and LinkedIn. They're saying at the bottom whether you need to include one or not. So if it's a criteria, then absolutely. Something else I'm seeing is them trying to not catch people out, but kind of, I guess, separate the people who've actually read the full advert by saying things like, one that I saw this week was, there's a few spelling mistakes in this. Please, can you list them in your cover letter? That's what I am seeing a lot more of.
Yeah, I saw one recently where it was like, there's a random color referenced in this job advert. Please tell us what that is. And it, like, they'd written orange in the cover letter and in the job advert randomly. So that's really interesting because, yeah, people want you to know their job advert. I say to add a cover letter, unless they say not to.
Yeah.
If it's a Seek, because it's better to take the time to write one than to not have one and not get read. So would you say just to do it unless they say not to?
Yeah, definitely. And I think only if it's not going to be generic. If it's going to be generic, don't bother.
Yeah, no, 100. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. Thank you. Is there any other advice that you would give people right now? Anything that I might have missed with my Friday morning brain?
No, because I'm at 7:30, so I've still got Friday morning brain even more. No, I think just, remember that, yeah, it's not always easy, but just be confident in the experience that you have, regardless of what country it's been in. Like, it's still very valid experience. And a lot of the time you've probably been, I guess, you've probably experienced more than what a role would expect from you here.
Yeah.
That's definitely something I can say very confidently. So yeah, remember that, and yeah, just stick with it, be confident, get out there and network, remind yourself what you bring. And yeah, I think 2024 is going to be a great year for everyone who's looking.
Absolutely. And one last question. I'm so sorry. It's 7:30. What should someone do now or like early January to get ready for 2024?
Just be prepared. Have your resume ready to go. If you're feeling not 100% confident, reach out and speak with people like yourself. Reach out to recruiters like myself to understand the market a little bit more. And start to put in some meetings, whether it's like a coffee catch up with someone or a networking event that's in January. Just start to have those all in a calendar so that you're ready to go. One thing that I have seen, which could be really good, is people are writing in Facebook groups now that are just saying, hi, like, I've been here for 6 months or however long it's been. I'm really keen to meet new people. If anyone's keen for a coffee, let me know. I know that if I ever see one, I will always reach out and catch up with people.
Yeah.
And I think more and more people are becoming open to doing that. And that's another great way to just broaden your network.
Absolutely. Perfect. All right. That's great. Thank you so much for joining us at 7 a.m., Laura. You've been great as always. Yeah, super positive as well, which is really important, I think, because as I said, a lot of people were feeling a bit defeated about the job market in the past 6 to 8 months. So it's really great that you think it's opening up and there's reasons to be positive in 2024. So it's exciting. I feel quite excited for people. And so that's infectious from you. I can feel your excitement, so I'm excited as well. So I hope everyone else is feeling a bit more hopeful than you did 6 months ago, because it is picking up. It is getting better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, that's it from me. You can go have a coffee or do what you got to do this time in the morning, and I'll speak to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Natalie.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.